Hi, I'm Hobie1. This is Red Chair Reading. As you can see, no red chair today. I am on location in Ansel Hoffman Park along the beautiful American River. I have the Black Book of Secrets, and in this video I'm reading Chapter 2, so let's go. Fragment from the Memoirs of Ludlow Fitch. I didn't know at the time, but I had hitched a ride on a carriage that belonged to and contained a Mr. Jeremiah Ratchet. We rattled along for hours, he inside snoring like a bellows, so loud I could hear it above the clatter of the wheels over the ruts, while outside I was clinging to the carriage like an organ grinder's monkey. The weather worsened, and it started to snow. The road narrowed and the potholes became larger, deeper, and more frequent. The driver had no thought for passenger comfort. If it wasn't for the fact that my hands were frozen in position, I might well have fallen off. Despite this, and my churning innards, I suffered terribly from travel sickness. Toward the end of the journey I was dozing. The carriage began to climb a steep hill, and finally we reached the place that was to be my home for the near future, the mountain village of Pragus Parvus. Under any other circumstances, I would not have chosen to come to Pragus Parvus, but at the time of traveling, my destination was out of my hands. At last the carriage stopped outside a large house, and the driver climbed down. I heard him rap on the carriage door. "Mr. Ratchet," he called. "Mr. Ratchet." But there was no reply, so he went to the house and rang for the maid. A young girl came out, looking none too pleased. The driver called her Polly. Together they dragged the man up the steps, accompanied by much snoring, his, and grunting, theirs, and hauled him inside. I took the opportunity to jump down and sneak a look in the cab, wherein I found a leather purse, a fringed printed silk skark, silk scarf, and a pair of gloves. I wrapped the scarf around my neck and slipped the gloves over my numb fingers. The purse contained only a few pennies, but it was a start. I got out and saw the young girl standing in the doorway looking straight at me. There was a slight smile on her face, and her eyes held mine for a long second. I heard the driver coming back and knew it was time to go. I could have gone either way, up the slope or down, but for some unknown reason, I chose to climb. If this is interesting to you, please boop the like button. And thank you very much. It'll help the video, spread to other people. The hill was treacherous. As I climbed, I heard the church bell strike 4. Although it was no longer snowing, the wind was sharp as a knife, and I knew I needed shelter. Despite the hour and the lack of streetlights, I could see well enough where I was going. It was not the moon that lit the way, for she was only a sliver, but all the lights ablaze behind the windows. It seemed that I was not the only one still awake in the village. I stopped at an empty building at the top of the hill. It stood alone in the shadow of the church, desolate and separated from the other houses and shops by an alley. I was looking for a way in when I heard approaching footsteps in the snow. I ducked into the alley and waited. A man, hunched over, came carefully down the hill. He was carrying a large wooden spade over his shoulder and was mumbling to himself. He passed right by me, looking neither to his left nor his right, and crossed over the road. As he melted into the night, another figure appeared. To this day I remember the man emerging from the gloom of the magic, as if by magic. I watched him climbing steadily toward me. He took long strides and covered the distance quickly. He had a limp. His right step was heavier than his left, and one footprint was deeper than the other. I believe I was the first person to see Joe Zabadow, and I know I was not the last. Was it just coincidence that had us both arrive here together? I suspect other powers were at work. Unlike me, he wasn't fleeing. He had a purpose, but he kept it well hidden. That is the end of Chapter 2. Thank you very much for watching. I'll catch you in Chapter 3.